Just black cats?
What's good, folks? It's D. White, founder of JustBlackThoughts.com, and I'm just one black male educator giving my thoughts. Today's topic is inspiration. What keeps you inspired? Who inspires you? What inspires you? For me, it's a collection of music. I just got through listening to the new Utopia Travis Scott album. I'm a music nerd, and I felt inspired by the amount of thought and complexity and dimensionality in the music. And I want my teaching to be that way. I want my teaching to have a level of multifaceted complexity. Not that I want to teach in a complex manner, but I want my teaching to have character, some texture. I don't believe in just one teaching practice. I don't believe in, we should just all lecture, all project-based. If anything, like an album, you want a collection of flavors, a collection of textures, a collection of sounds, just to keep them inspired, but also keep you creative. And lastly, if it's not music and art being whether it's film, paintings, I think life experience can be really inspirational. For example, this summer I've been traveling the most I've ever had in my life. I've been to Hawaii this summer. This is while all doing summer school. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to West Virginia. I'm now in Washington right now as we speak. And just getting my eyes to see different things sparks different ideas in my mind, whether it's picking wild blackberries in Washington. Wild, right? Just imagine seeing a black man walking down the street, just picking and eating wild blackberries. Oh, it's a funny sight. All the way to being in Hawaii and letting the blue water and the waves just hit your ankles and refresh you or rejuvenate you. I try to keep my phone or a journal near because it helps me spark ideas about how I want to create a space and environment in my classroom. How do I want to set up my lesson plans? And it's kind of a bit of divergent thinking because you would think, well, what does waves in Hawaii have to do with your classroom? Not much, but an experience. How can I engender that experience or that feeling in my students when they're learning in my class or when they're interacting in class? When I think about lesson planning, I don't just think strictly about the academic experience, but also the social experience, the interactivity. Where do I help a kid build confidence? Where do I help kids get stuck? And then where do they get unstuck? When I say get them stuck, I don't mean purposely, but where there are going to be places where they're going to get stuck in the process. And so how do I give them the space and the tools to get unstuck without doing all the work for them, so to speak? The beautiful thing about teaching is it evolves as you evolve and as you grow, right? Who I was in my 20s was reflective and indicative of who I was in the classroom in my 20s versus now in my mid-30s. I've seen a little bit more, I've lived a little bit more. So I entered the classroom with a different frame, a different mindset, a different emotional space, just a different vision. You hear that? That's my homie's cat eating. All I'm saying is allow yourself to be inspired. Allow anything to be a muse, whether that's a walk and you see something that makes you think, ooh, write that idea down. I always tell kids, it feels good to write stuff down and then to come back to it, as opposed to looking at a blank sheet and trying to start from scratch, a bullet point here and there, and over time it grows. And then you start to see a full picture, whether it's a paragraph, an essay, but just whatever crazy idea you get, write it down. All right. Honor yourself, honor that moment. Because sometimes it's not so much about what I wrote on paper, but I'll write about the moment I had. And when I come back to it, that memory of the moment reactivates the imagination or the mindset I was in at that particular moment. Why does this matter to me? Specifically as a black male educator, I don't think this is just for black men in general, but I think there's so many competing thoughts, competing ideas, whether that's trying to stay safe in the streets, worried about your mother, worried about your seed. And so I think just to help slow some of that down and to give you some peace of mind and clarity, just writing anything and everything down, just honoring your imagination, just honoring your thoughts, by just jotting it down, right? So if anything, this becomes an idea tracking method as well as a little bit of a journal exercise and a reflection exercise. And hopefully that inspires you to continue to be creative, to adapt, to be able to see an opportunity in all the things that are happening to you and how that could or could not show up in the classroom. Hey, it's D. White, founder of justblackthoughts.com. If you haven't done so, hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow me at The Other English Teacher on Instagram and YouTube. Peace. Loki, there was a deer. You missed a deer. I was calling your name.